since 2019 until this blew up in NAR's face, you said don't worry about it.
Right.
Your defense during the trial was, this is ridiculous. That's not a defense. That's not good enough. This is Byron Lazine and Nicole White, and you're tuned into episode 296 of The Real Word.
Word is up. This is our first ever recording in the evening.
It is. We have been disciplined for almost 300 episodes of recording Tuesday at 10. The pod usually goes up Tuesday at 2.
I don't know if my hair looks better at 5 o'clock at night or if it looks better at 10 a.m.,
Yeah.
but I guess we'll see.
I got off a flight today from Austin, so a little bit of reshuffling here. This pod's going up on Wednesday evening.
Apologies.
We're recording on Wednesday evening of this week. Obviously, things change all the time, but
here we are.
We're going to recap this whole world that we are now living in. I came off of a flight this morning from Austin, Texas. I was at Zillow Unlock.
You felt great about it. You were very optimistic.
It was I felt great about the
I love life. I loved my tower of
there was a lot of good things going on. All right, there was a lot of good things going on. But they opened up the conference, they meaning Susan Daimler, president, by talking about
the lawsuit.
They didn't say, hey, Sitzer, Burnett, lawsuit, but they said, hey, we want everything going on, open up about some policy. Okay. They used the word policy.
Wow.
Number one, they said access to data free and transparent. Number two, they believe in independent representation. They made it clear that they're not a believer in dual agency. It harms the customer. And then number three, fair compensation. Consumers should understand everything clearly, and agents should earn a fair compensation. So that's kind of their stance. Now, just to recap from where we were last week, every single day there's another story. Every national headline has written about it at this point. One of the plaintiffs came out and spoke.
Yeah.
As well as Michael Ketchmark. Obviously, he's on the interview trail. Both saying the same thing, by the way. I think it was unfair. There's like a very...
That's how they feel.
There's a script that they've gone over.
Oh,
you know how they brought up
yeah.
real estate agent scripts during the trial?
Yeah.
The plaintiff obviously has scripts. This is the same plaintiff, Nicole.
Oh, it was the one that said like, oh, hey, I was able to negotiate.
Well, that said, I had a fair and good experience with my RE/MAX agent, but I didn't think it was fair that I ended up paying my RE/MAX agent as the listing broker who then paid the buyer agent. I just don't think the system's fair. But when asked, did you have a good experience? Were you happy? On the stand, you would think that on the stand, like, you're under oath. This person is like, no, I wasn't happy. No, they said, yes, I was happy. My RE/MAX agent did a great job. That was like the position, right?
Right.
So that it's that particular one that has spoken out and was interviewed. And so now that we have a face to it, like he's out, you can go look him up. I mean, we could post it if we wanted to. Haley, not a big deal. We're not trying to, kill the guy or anything here.
No,
Definitely
that was never.
Not trying to cancel the guy.
Never.
Let's not use that word.
No, let's not. No targets on his head.
No, definitely not. You know what I'm saying. Not trying to cancel him or make his life a living hell. The point is, he's out there saying the system is unfair, and it's the same exact words that Michael Ketchmark is using. There are a lot of words. There are a lot of words being written. In the New York Times in particular, New York Times had a story about the verdict, and it was the most commented article of the day.
Okay.
All right. So this is more than any article in the New York Times on the war in Israel.
Do you think it was more? You think it was mostly? Was it mostly agents that were commenting?
I'm gonna get to some of these comments. Yeah. It was more than the war. It was more than President Biden. It was more than Trump's. Former President Trump has his law stuff going on.
Right.
That's going on every day. More comments than all of that stuff. Here are some of the comments.
Okay.
Gary Arsenault, who's in Norfolk, Virginia. These are nowbam.com, and these are we pulled them right from New York Times. Real estate agents are salespeople with no product knowledge. They are like car salespeople who know nothing about cars. If you have a problem with your car, you take it to a mechanic with product knowledge, not to a car salesperson.
So we could sue the car people now.
I don't think so.
Because they're upping our prices.
Yeah. Well, you know, Ricky actually Caruth had an example of how buyer agents used to be sub-agency.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, sub-agency is basically like, you know, you hire agent, then some other agent's working the deal. It's kind of like you hire a roofer, and then, you know, you show up to your house, and it's like, who are these 4 people on my roof?
Yeah.
You know, because I hired a contractor, GC,
Right.
and then he's got, you know, some guys he picked up at the train station potentially doing the roof.
I guarantee he did.
Real estate agents have a little lingo which masks their overall ignorance. I've always thought that it was odd that the seller pays the buyer's agent who is working against the seller's interest. So that's this guy from Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay.
Comment. And this is why, you know, I made it clear in my 11-point plan, which we'll link up below, of how to move forward, that being a full-time, all-in real estate professional, you know, I've been a big believer of this for a long time, is really mandatory. You know, it's you need to provide a professional experience.
He slandered real estate agents at least 4 or 5 different times in there that were kind of essentially were idiots.
Right. So you have views like that though,
Yeah.
and it is because of the low standard and bar of entry. He might have had a bad experience. I'm just taking it at face value. There was a lot of these kind of bad comments. You know, here's another one. Our last experience buying a home was in 2012. We would like to move again, but the experience was so traumatizing that we are staying put. This is from username CD.
Staying put.
The first home we were considering has serious construction flaws that unfortunately we were able to ascertain due to prior experiences with home ownership. Most buyers would not have been aware of what to look for, and the inspector was afraid to cite these issues for fear of losing business from the realtors. Well, the inspector could lose their license for doing that if that was true. You know, some of these things like that one where it's like, is this what you thought, or you have evidence that the inspector didn't bring up structural issues with the home?
The inspector that you hired.
You should be suing if you have evidence that the inspector did this.
I didn't. The agent didn't hire him.
That comment there is where you go a little bit the other direction, where you're like, really?
But what, they're unwilling to move because, like, I'm staying in it. Like, this house is too small. I'm staying because I'm afraid of real estate agents. Like, are we like boogie monsters?
and you know, if you read into this comment, basically the agents have, you know, the engineers and the inspectors. They hired an independent engineer to prove what they suspect. Like, agents control everything here, right? According to this one, that's why they can't move since 2012.
Wow.
Anyways, get the most out of our content at BAM by joining BAMX. You can use code REALWORD to get 10% off of BAMX today. Like our YouTube accountability group, all of our courses, live streams, and direct access to our BAM creators in our Facebook group. You also get our daily downloads from the hot sheet every single day. Join BAMX by using code REALWORD to get 10% off today. You've got Morgan from, with a capital G, Morgan, I would assume, from New York City. The good news is, like stockbrokers and life insurance agents, their days are numbered. AI machines will completely replace the real estate industry in less than 5 years. Now, Zillow, which I was just, you know, at their deal there, they disagree with that. Over 90% of consumers want an agent. Rich Barton said since founding Zillow in over 20 years being in this industry, he knows, and it's been consistent year over year, that consumers want independent representation throughout the transaction.
Right.
And that should be, you know, to their point, fair compensation. That should be negotiated. Everybody should understand the fees, etc. Now, there was some comments that were more favorable to agents, or at least neutral. There wasn't many of them, but some of them were more favorable or neutral. Max from New York City said, must be highly incompetent lawyers. I think we've agreed with that when we look at NAR's defense and their lack of defense. There is no conspiracy, and no one is forced to pay anything. And that's, a big deal there. It's like,
Huge.
who was forced to pay something?
Right.
Where was the gun to the back of the head?
Yeah.
The listing agent asks for 6%. The seller of the home is free to negotiate that down. They often do. Or they can sell the apartment with their own with no agent. They hire the listing agent. Listing agent then offers half of their commission this person is, obviously it's not always 6 and 3, but this is the example that this person is using. But this person says it's pretty straightforward. I'm amazed they lost. You have Noli from Maine who said, isn't the commission paid delineated in the agreement between the seller and the real estate agency? We may be an exception, this person from Maine says, but when we sold a house a couple of years ago, we knew what the percentage of the sale price was the commission. Everybody, including all the defendants, knew it because they all signed a contract that said this percent of the sale price is going to be the commission.
Right.
Everybody
knew
this.
And again, Coldwell Bank, I know Coldwell Banker's contract only because I worked there for a bit. On there, you actually write out how much you're offering out on the contract too. So the seller is even a part of how much of that.
Many contracts across the country.
I'm only referencing that one because that's the only one I know.
And when we bought a house in a different state, we knew the realtor represented the seller. So now they're going on the buy side. Hey, we knew that the realtor represented the seller. I'm sure some people get ripped off, but it pays to read the contract. Like basically what this person, Noli from Maine, is saying is you're smart if you read the contract.
Right.
You're the opposite of smart when you don't read contracts. When you sign contracts and don't read them, you probably are the opposite of smart. You're in that other category.
Well, that's when you start getting the feels. When you feel like...
Yeah. So that's some of the feedback. New York Times had a lot of feedback. Now, I don't agree with a lot of the speak out there where it's like agents shouldn't have an opinion because they're not attorneys, or agents should put their head in the sand and not worry about this and just, control the simple things in life. I think agents should have an opinion on this. I think agents should be knowledgeable about this because I don't know if you've had it, but I've had people that are outside of the industry read articles.
I haven't yet. I've had a lot of agents asking me, Nicole, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen?
A lot of people that I spoke to in Zillow that were at Zillow attending, that were brokers and team leaders across the country, have had clients of theirs reach out to them and ask questions. There are enough articles, CNN, Fox News, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, where your consumer is seeing this information, curious about it,
right,
and not being fully educated on it, taking the line from NAR, which has existed since 2019, which is don't worry about it, isn't good enough anymore.
Right.
You need to have a stance on this. You need to have an opinion on this.
Yeah.
But you need to back it with facts on what's going on. Now, I'll be clear here. I do believe NAR and the other defendants when they say this is going to get drawn out because we will appeal. Tracy Kasper, the president of NAR, put out a video, 5-minute video without background music, Nicole.
It was so good.
It was
it was better.
It was without background music this time.
Honestly, it was funny because she sounded exactly the same in this video as the other one. Like
there was a lot of words. It was 5 minutes. She said, we are going to appeal. And so I do take that is the consensus here, where it's like there's going to be we're not attorneys. We don't know how the appeal process is going to work, if it's going to work, not work.
Well, they've been saying that from the beginning. I mean, it sounded like both sides were going to appeal, you know? Yeah.
So, right. If it didn't work out the other way, there's going to be an appeal that way. There's going to be appeal and a long appeal process. Now, I have no idea. This is just a guess. I think the local courtroom in Missouri, if this thing goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, which I'm hearing that's NAR's goal, is Supreme Court with this thing, they believe they're going to have a much different type of chance against the Supreme Court than they did in a local court in Missouri. Now, there's other ones that are going to play out in between there. You're going to have Illinois next year. You're going to have different courtrooms. But that's what I'm hearing is actually the goal. Let's go to the Supreme Court and lay this thing out. There's just a belief that it's going to be more favorable. Now, Tracy Kasper also said some pretty questionable things on this video. She also said, you know, where do we go from here? I don't know. Okay, well, yeah. Since 2019 until this blew up in NAR's face, you said don't worry about it.
Right.
Your defense during the trial was, this is ridiculous. That's not a defense. That's not good enough. That defense doesn't cut it. And then you're handed down this verdict, and now it's like, well, I don't know where we go from here, but make sure everything is transparent.
Way to be a leader.
Well, it's just like, hello, really? That's it. I mean, at least I was able to offer an 11-point plan, which is available. And I do think this industry is going to lean into leaders and professionals and away from people that don't know anything. One of the issues I had with the defense, and I'm not an attorney, but one of the issues I thought was pretty obvious, it just makes sense, was, okay, you've got these plaintiff witnesses that have sold a home, and you didn't have their specific agents, like, when we were able to ask questions.
Right.
So Tracy's like, you know, I heard from a lot of people, she's watching the pod. Thank you, Tracy, if you are. But I've heard from a lot of people that said, you know, we didn't have any agents. We did. We had so-and-so who was
the ex-president.
The ex-president of NAR, like over a decade ago, come up. And just because she was in Tracy's shoes years ago, you know, you were technically a realtor and sell homes. No, that's not what I'm talking about, Tracy.
Right.
I'm talking about the 5 witnesses for the plaintiffs. Where are those 5 agents that were in the business in these last 5 years?
Had the conversation.
Wrote the contract.
Here's the contract.
Right? Like,
I circled it. We initialed it. Like, whatever it is that you did.
And we're not, listen, we don't have a law degree.
No.
So maybe attorneys know better than us. But it just seems to make common sense that if there's a dispute, okay, this plaintiff said, and we have this documented, the plaintiff witness, rather, the home seller said, my RE/MAX agent treated me fairly. Okay, great. I might turn to the jury and say, wow, treated fairly. Great experience? Yeah, great experience. Okay. Now I might go call to the stand the agent that offered the great experience. Hey, in your great experience that you delivered the home seller, how did you get that contract signed? What conversation did you have?
Right.
Did you talk about what you're going to be doing in your services
instead of the suit
and offering to the buyer side? Instead of
in the office,
the old NAR president. Then she said, we also added an economist. Okay, so you had Lawrence Yun, the chief economist, on there who puts a couple slide decks out a month. Yeah, I don't think you're going to resonate with somebody who makes $800,000 a year to put a couple slide decks out a month with this jury in Missouri.
Right.
Get the agents that are in that local market, in that community.
And I would even go as far as like talking. I don't know. I mean, I think you could also break it down, because I think everyone thinks that again, they're watching these. Because, you know, Netflix just released their 7th season of Selling Sunset. On there, it always is saying how much the commission is. Like,
and the problem with that show.
So now everyone thinks that, like,
that show is top line number. It doesn't get into, okay, that show's actually doing us a disservice.
That's what
on
I'm
that.
saying.
Yeah.
So the people are sitting, the jury is sitting there thinking these people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars doing nothing, when really, again, it's split, and then it's this fee, and then it's taxes, and then it's the marketing that I paid. Like,
there's no expense list. There's no on that show.
Have
There's
the agent go on there and show what they did to market the house too, what their expenses were,
Netflix,
what their electric key was, what their MLS due is. Like,
none of that. Some of that stuff doesn't matter. But what does matter is Netflix or whoever does that show. They put the top line number of the commission because they want the number to be big and eye catching.
Right.
But they don't say agent A and agent B.
But everyone thinks that. I mean, think about when you put a 1.2 million, everyone's like, oh my God, like, I'm going to come to me for 1.2 million. Like, I might be able to, like, put food on my table for, like, just food for, like, 6 months. Like, come on, people. Like, it's like that's when again, I'm not blaming Selling Sunset, but that's the opinion that people have of it.
Yeah, so people have this inflated opinion.
Bringing the suit on there that is actually making $1 million.
Yeah, when you're running a business, taking the liability, The point is, it could be 99% commission. Nobody would ever do that. But these things are negotiated. It's like, what is a fair compensation? Okay, obviously 99% of my home value isn't a fair compensation. Well, is 0%? Would you like to work for free? Okay, so it's not 0. Okay, so let's figure out what a number is.
Right.
Okay, and for everybody, it's going to be a little bit different. The other point, is there are in most of these markets, really every market across America, there is a history of people just selling their home on their own. So for sale by owners do exist. Why wasn't that option exercised if you didn't want to pay a commission? So that's a whole nother part. Now, what's happened since then? Well, just yesterday, you can pull this. I don't know if we're going to have a BAM article by the time this goes up or not, but it's on Housing Wire. No,
the article just came right now, 4:30.
Yeah, the article came out today.
Yeah.
Right before we started recording this.
Yeah.
Illinois homebuyers file second commission lawsuit, and it may be the largest one yet. Okay, so there's a lot of lawsuits going on. We probably should do another article on BAM where we just can break down all the lawsuits because after the verdict in Missouri, you had Michael Ketchmark, the lead attorney for the plaintiffs, file a national lawsuit. We mentioned those 7 brokerages and others,
right?
As well as the NAR, and that is a similar lawsuit to the one that they just won, and now it's going to be national. Okay,
right.
Compass is involved, EXP, and others, and so there you go. Now you already had Morrell, which had been sitting here in Illinois, which was already bigger than the Missouri one because it was just bigger scope.
Right.
Very similar lawsuit. Okay, so that one is starting in Q1. That one does have class action status.
Right.
Now, that's sellers, very similar to Missouri. Now you have Illinois home buyers. Okay, so the sellers are saying in Missouri, Sitzer Burnett, which verdict last week, Morrell starting Q1 of 2024, Illinois as well. Sitzer Burnett being Missouri. All saying, well, these are home sellers saying agents have conspired to inflate our fees.
Right.
Well, now home buyers are saying agents have conspired to inflate their fees.
Well, no, they purchased their price.
Their price.
Yeah.
But in the other one, it's the sellers pay the... Now, so you're boiling this down to some belief out here. And there's a comment... in one of these many there's just so much content here. It's crazy. But there is I don't want to misquote exactly where it came from. If I find it, I'll source it here. But and you've probably seen these quotes. They're all over the place. That home prices would be reduced. The cost of home buying would be reduced if this conspiracy doesn't exist. Okay, so if you took agent fees out, home prices would come down. Which homeowners are willing to reduce the price of their home?
Right.
That's who I want to hear from. Which home sellers are willing to take on all of the work?
Right.
To negotiate, to market.
Well, again,
to pre-market.
And in that situation too, if those people didn't hire the home inspector and the agent did in that situation where they said that the home inspector was colluding essentially with the agent, would you even know a home inspector to help you? Like, would you?
Well, you can find a home inspector.
No, but I'm just saying, like, you don't necessarily always know all the steps.
Yeah, but that's fine. I agree.
Yeah.
But you can find a home inspector.
I'm hearing you.
That's not like a big deal. My point is, do you want to go through all the steps when most people stay in their home 10 or 11 years? So do you want to spend the time to learn all the steps, take the money to invest in the proper steps to set it up the right way? Do you actually want to go through that, or do you want to hire it out with the service? I need a new bathroom. I can go to Home Depot. I can get the materials. A bathroom remodel, you typically, one would argue maybe depending on where you live, you have to pull a permit. But if you're just remodeling tile and that, you don't really have to do the permit.
Have to.
So do you want to go through that process of learning how to tile, putting in a countertop, of the painting, or do you want to hire that service out? Now, when you do decide to hire that service out, you do typically pay a general contractor. There is a margin attached to the work. They don't come in and be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do all this work for free. Usually these days with the contractor, you go get the materials, I'll show up with the workers, and I'm going to charge you 1.5 times materials or 2 times
and his hands
material.
don't ever get dirty.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But you've decided I'm going to go out and hire that service. So that's the decision. Now, if you make the decision whether you're going to do the service yourself as the home buyer or the home seller, you're going to take on the job of representing yourself and all that comes with that. Even the legalities that come with that. Lawsuits will be on the rise if
for sure.
if people are not being represented.
Disclosures and lead forms.
But where are the home owners that are now going to say, oh, there's no agents anymore. I'm willing to sell my home for less. In the markets where there's low inventory, which is like everywhere, home sellers are going to get as much money as they possibly can. Now comes the debate. Love to know your thoughts down below on everything that we're saying here and how you think this would shake out. Now comes the debate with, okay, could you actually learn the skills to position the property, to navigate the negotiation, to do it, legally and fair with equity and all this stuff? Could you actually net yourself more money, right? There's a lot of agents that are going to be able to go in there, top agents in these markets, and showcase, hey, by hiring me and using me and my fee, I can actually net you more money than you would do it on your own. And that's where it's like, home sellers like, okay, it's like the commission is irrelevant because I'm netting more money and I'm saving the time. I'm not doing the work. I'm not doing the service. So going back to this new lawsuit, it's going to be called Baton 2, known as Baton 2, after the lead plaintiff, Maya Baton. Now, this is 7 home buyers that have come together. I mean, these folks are really disgruntled people.
Well, it's funny, though, because the sellers are saying that they're paying, but now the buyers are saying they're paying.
This new lawsuit, Baton 2, includes Compass, EXP, Redfin, Weicker, United, Howard Hanna, and Douglas Elliman. Unlike the Sitzer, Burnett, Morrell, and Gibson, which is the new national one, which Ketchmark announced last week, NAR is missing from the list of defendants. However, the trade group's presence is heavily felt in the plaintiff's complaint because they say they're going after people that used MLS and NAR MLSs. What are the plaintiffs looking for in this new homebuyer lawsuit? The suit is seeking class action status, a jury trial, a damages award, and a permanent injunction preventing the defendants from establishing the same or similar rules, policies, or practices in those challenge action in the future. Interesting enough, in Tracy Kasper, president of NAR, her video, she said that there could, in Missouri, still be a rule that comes down that stops, clear cooperation, things like that. Certain practices. She's like, we don't know, that could be coming, obviously. This is the first. The first is a nationwide class, which consists of all person who, Nicole, since December 1st, 1996, through the present purchase of the United States residential real estate.
I wonder why 96.
Yeah. And then the damages class is also December 1st, 1996. Maybe that's as far back as they can go.
Maybe.
That could be as far back as they can go. The nationwide class is seeking injunctive relief. Damages class is seeking monetary damages. So they're looking, injunctive relief means we're looking to make change in the real estate industry. Now, when Michael Ketchmark was asked about this, it's interesting. His Gibson lawsuit names the same brokerages as this one, but when he was asked about this one, he goes, I don't know anything about it because we're not involved in that one. But it's the same exact brokerage as the one you just... They asked him if there was communication between this Illinois for Baton 2 and his Gibson lawsuit that they just put together. Now, the Gibson lawsuit is going to be potential to be even... This one here is going to be potential to be larger than the Gibson one, which is a $200 billion plus lawsuit. Okay? This Ketchmark is saying, well, yeah, but we didn't talk about it, this new one, and we're not talking about it. we're dealing with our own. They're seeking damages though in Gibson of $200 billion that could rise to $600 billion, trebling. None of this money's out there, by the way. I don't know where this money would come from. But Michael Ketchmark says he's not talking to this Illinois attorney, but he is talking to everybody else, all these interviews, as well as the U.S. Justice Department or Department of Justice. He's talking to significant and ongoing talks with the DOJ, which of course is also looking at NAR and real estate. He confirmed this to Inman on Monday of this week. They're looking for, after treble, $600 billion in the new lawsuit called Gibson. We're in alignment with what the Department of Justice wants to make real estate part of the free market and to get NAR out of rigging the system. We think it is a real opportunity for change. Ketchmark's talks with the DOJ have occurred before, during, and after Sitzer Burnett trial, in which jury last Tuesday awarded this $1.8 billion in damages, which will go up to $5.36 billion with treble. Obviously, again, that will be appealed. NAR is being very stern on that they are going to appeal. So a lot of conversations, still a lot swirling around. I still believe in the plan I put out last week, the 11-point plan.
Yeah.
You can grab that down below. I still believe.
I feel like this is a drinking game now.
I still believe you got to be full-time right now.
Every time you say 11-point plan. I mean, it's time. I mean, it's time for that.
It's pretty easy stuff. You got to be full-time.
Yeah.
You got to be able to position your services and articulate your services. Right now, these are things that you've always had to do, though.
Right.
You have to separate yourself from the herd of agents that unfortunately have been able to jump over the low bar that NAR set. You've got to pull yourself far away from that. NAR has confusing messages. I would love to speak to the new CEO. Love for her to,
Have you reached out?
Well, through Haber, we have Jason Haber, who's leading the NAR Accountability Project. He's reached out. We want to do a little town hall with her on BAM.
Wow.
That'd be amazing, right?
Back in Naples again?
No, like a virtual, so
Oh.
everybody can have access to it,
Yeah.
free and transparent.
Yeah, of course. Makes sense.
But obviously, I haven't
I'll pop
gotten
the
any word on
popcorn.
that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. I mean, that would be so cool to be able to speak to her. She's outside in the industry. I've heard about as much as I need to hear from our, the NAR President, Tracy Kasper. She doesn't really say anything.
No.
And then when she did, she's like, where do we go from here moving forward? She doesn't even have an answer for you. Like, at least put out a little something.
Right.
I
mean, there's enough people behind you to come up with some sort of answer.
I think the ultimate answer is, from their perspective, is this going to get dragged out? Well, you better have better representation than you had from 2019 till today, because your answer in the Missouri court was that this is ridiculous. That was an inadequate defense.
Right. Or what was in their closing argument?
Use common sense.
Yeah.
My common sense tells me you failed miserably.
Yeah.
And you're going to need different attorneys going forward. So we'll continue to monitor it. I love your thoughts, Nicole. Final thoughts on, there's just so much here. It's hard to
It's over, especially at 5:30 at night. It's very overwhelming after a long day.
There's a lot.
There is a lot.
And
I think your little article would be helpful to sort of break it all apart.
Yeah. To have every different, because
Yes.
we're gonna have to do a table.
I don't think we're done. I don't think
That's the point.
I don't think anyone's done yet. I think this is, the floodgates are going to open.
There's gonna be a lot more coming lawsuits, which means more and more people inside your community, inside your database, are going to continue to read information on this. Are they going to be reading New York Times commentary, or are they going to be getting commentary directly from you? That your negotiations in your community are free and clear, are clear and transparent,
Right.
are free of any conspiracy, are very much, here are all your options, out in the open. Is that the message you're going to be sending to them? That, the contract going over with everybody in your community so that they understand it? Is that the approach? Or is the approach going to be, I'm going to put my head in the sand and see how these appeals shake out. Because if that's your approach, meanwhile, everybody in your community is going to craft their own opinion on it.
Right.
And I'd rather be the person that is, on the other side as opposed to the New York Times. So that's the approach I'm going to continue
Sounds like
to
we
take.
need a town hall then.
We need
Let's
a
go.
town hall with Nakia Wright, the CEO of NAR, who has media experience. So I think she would actually perform quite well in a town hall experience.
Yeah.
But we need better answers than what we're getting from Tracy Kasper. NAR is hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
Leading into next week where they have their NXT conference, NAR Next.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in
You gonna
Anaheim.
go?
No, I'm going to St. John to relax after all of the
Too much.
nonsense that's been going on. But that trip's
You think you're actually going to
planned.
relax? Like no computer, no anything?
That's going to be hard because if there's like news that
Breaking
breaks,
news?
am I going to be under a mango tree somewhere?
Mango? They have mango trees there?
Probably mango trees.
Or floating out in the
Coconuts.
floating bar?
Let us know. Join the community at BAMX. We're supporting each other in there through all of this. You have code REALWORD down below. And we'll see you guys in the next pod. Keep it real.
See you guys.